Excuse me? Are you Lily's father? The woman's voice startled James Harrison as he hurried into Westwood Elementary, 15 minutes late for pickup. Yes, His words trailed off suddenly as he looked up. The figure before him was not Principal Thompson as he had anticipated, but rather a new presence, someone whose warm brown eyes lingered on his for a moment longer than seemed appropriate. I'm Sophia Ramirez, Lily's new teacher, she said, extending her hand, which James shook for perhaps a moment longer than necessary. She mentioned you might be running late. I apologize, James said, at last discovering his voice. The board meeting ran long. I'm James Harrison, Sophia smiled, revealing a dimple in her right cheek. I know who you are, Mr. Harrison, the millionaire developer whose name graces half the buildings downtown. James felt a blush creeping up, an unfamiliar sensation he hadn't experienced in years. Just James, if you don't mind. Dad, Lily called out, her voice ringing through the hallway as she dashed toward them, her backpack bouncing with each step. At last, you've arrived. This is Ms. Ramirez. She's incredible. We were just getting to know each other, Sophia remarked, her gaze lingering on James before shifting to Lily. Don't forget about your science homework. All right? As Lily animatedly recounted her first day, James couldn't help but steal glances at Ms. Ramirez, who was now welcoming other parents. There was an undeniable allure about her, a subtle self-assuredness that captivated him. Dad, are you listening? Lily tugged at his hand. Of course, he replied untruthfully, steering her toward the exit. Tell me more about Ms. Ramirez. 3 weeks later, James unexpectedly found himself stepping up as the classroom parent, a role he had never embraced during Lily's earlier school years. Following Rebecca's passing, he had entrusted school activities to his assistant or nanny. Now he was crafting autumn leaf decorations with Sophia long after the school day had ended. You have a remarkable talent for this, Sophia remarked, observing him skillfully shape a maple leaf. I studied architecture before transitioning to development, he explained. I still sketch from time to time. Lily mentioned you illustrate houses for her, Sophia remarked. She revealed her collection of dream homes you've crafted. James paused, scissors suspended in mid-air. She's displaying those to you. She's quite proud of them. Sophia's smile dimmed a bit. I trust that's acceptable. She reminisces about her mother, recalling how she would assist in adding color to them. James placed the scissors down. It's fine. It's good she's discussing Rebecca. An uneasy quiet enveloped them until Sophia broke the stillness once more. We have our parent-teacher conferences next week. Would Thursday at 4 work for you? During their conference, Sophia brought up Lily's occasional withdrawal in class. She's brilliant, creative, articulate, mathematically gifted, Sophia elaborated. Yet at times, she vanishes emotionally, particularly during gatherings centered around family. James acknowledged this, feeling the familiar burden of inadequacy pressing down on him. She continues to grapple with the loss of her mother. At times, I question whether I'm providing enough support. You're doing an amazing job, Sophia reassured him, lightly placing her hand on his across the desk. Children are resilient, but grief has its timeline for both of you. There was something in her tone that made James ponder whether she, too, had experienced loss. Before he could inquire, she resumed her assessment of Lily's progress. Later, as he strolled through the parking lot, James noticed a familiar figure standing by his car. Diana Wells, the mother of his late wife, stood with her arms crossed. Diana, what brings you here? I'm just checking on my granddaughter, she said with a hint of formality. Since when do you attend school functions, James? Your assistant typically takes care of these matters. I'm making an effort to be more engaged, he responded, as he unlocked the car. I understand. Diana's eyes wandered to the school entrance, where Sophia was securing the doors. Is that the new teacher? Lily brings her up all the time. Ms. Ramirez, she's wonderful with the kids. Diana's lips pressed together. Rebecca hasn't been gone that long, James. Lily needs stability, not new maternal figures. It's not, James started, then hesitated. Diana, it's been 3 years, and Ms. Ramirez is simply Lily's teacher. Certainly, Diana's tone implied she thought differently. I simply don't want Lily to be confused or to forget her mother. As Diana turned to leave, James felt the familiar pang of guilt wash over him. Did his interest in Sophia show a lack of respect for Rebecca's memory? Was it even more perplexing for Lily? That evening, after gently placing Lily under the covers, James caught himself gazing at Rebecca's picture resting on the nightstand. Her smile still stirred a deep feeling in his chest, yet recently it had transformed into a bittersweet sensation rather than the overwhelming sorrow it once was. "What do you think, Beck?" he murmured to the silent space. "Is it too early?" The image provided no clarity, yet as James shut his eyes, he recalled Rebecca's words from her last days. "Promise me you'll live, James. Truly embrace life. Don't merely go through the motions for Lily's sake." Back then, he couldn't fathom the idea of wanting to live at all without her. Now, for the first time since losing Rebecca, he sensed a flicker of something fresh. Regardless of his willingness to admit it, Sophia Ramirez had stirred feelings within him that he believed had vanished with his wife's passing. The crisp October air was filled with the aroma of fallen leaves as James drove into the school parking lot. Today signified the beginning of fall festival preparations, and he had offered to assist in constructing the haunted house. Yet another new experience since Rebecca's departure. "Dad, you're going to assist Miss Ramirez with the eerie hallway, aren't you?" Lily inquired, nearly bouncing in her seat. "She mentioned you're the only parent familiar with support beams." James grinned at his daughter's excitement. "Is that really what she said?" "Indeed." And she remarked on his keen perception. "Perception," he gently corrected. Within the gymnasium, parents gathered around the assignment tables. James quickly noticed Sophia. She donned jeans and a burgundy sweater, her dark hair gathered into a loose braid, a stark contrast to her typical professional look. "Mr. Harrison," she greeted with a smile. "Ready to craft some nightmares?" For the next 3 hours, they collaborated closely, assembling plywood walls and draping black fabric to bring the haunted maze to life. Their dialogue unfolded effortlessly, shifting from Lily's academic achievements to their personal histories. "What inspired you to pursue a career in teaching? What do you think?" James inquired as he meticulously painted the prop tombstones. "I spent 5 years as a corporate lawyer," Sophia disclosed, catching him off guard. "Lucrative earnings, yet devoid of fulfillment. A single day of volunteering at an after-school program transformed everything. What an interesting change in direction." She chuckled. "My parents weren't exactly overjoyed. They came from Mexico and dedicated themselves tirelessly to ensure I could attend law school. Upon sharing my decision to transition into education, she merely shook her head in response. For 3 long months, my father remained silent towards me. However, they eventually changed their minds. In due course, first my mom, and then my dad when he noticed my genuine happiness." Sophia immersed her brush into the cool, muted gray paint. "What about you? Have you always worked in real estate?" "Pretty much. My father constructed strip malls, but I set my sights on greater heights, quite literally. Initially focused on office buildings, then transitioned to mixed-use developments." James took a moment to reflect. "Rebecca served as the interior designer for my second project. That's how we met." Sophia nodded, embracing Rebecca's mention with a confidence that many lacked. Lily remarked that her mom created stunning environments. Just as James was about to reply, a recognizable voice echoed through the gymnasium. "James, I didn't expect to see you here," Diana Wells said, her designer handbag standing out against the backdrop of Halloween decorations. She balanced a tray of prepackaged cookies and donned a PDA visitor badge. "Diana, what an unexpected delight," James remarked, rising to his feet. "Do you recall this is the festival that Rebecca used to organize?" "How could I forget? That's why I'm here." Diana's gaze fixed on Sophia. "You must be Miss Ramirez. I am Diana Wells, the grandmother of Lily and the mother of Rebecca." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Wells," Sophia said with a courteous smile. Just call me Diana. I held the position of PTA president for 6 years during Rebecca's childhood. These festivals were our specialty, Diana declared. Throughout the afternoon, she settled herself between James and Sophia, recounting tales of Rebecca's PTA achievements and showcasing photos of past festivals from her phone. By the time the volunteers began to leave, James had not exchanged a word with Sophia for more than an hour. Diana, James said as they made their way to the parking lot. While I value your assistance today, I'm intrigued by the timing. Diana adjusted her designer sunglasses. What exactly do you mean? You haven't shown up to a school event since the memorial service, and now you're here just in time to break the moment. Break what, James? Diana's voice took on a more cutting edge. A dalliance with my granddaughter's instructor? Rebecca has been gone for hardly 3 years. 3 years is hardly nothing, Diana. And I wasn't flirting, I was… James. They both turned to see Sophia a few feet away, clearly uneasy. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to express my gratitude for your assistance today, Diana said with a constrained smile. I should be on my way. It was a pleasure meeting you, Miss Ramirez. I'm certain our paths will cross again. Once Diana departed, an uncomfortable stillness enveloped the space between them. I should apologize for my mother-in-law, James finally said. No need. Family dynamics can be quite intricate. Sophia paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Hey, how about we grab a coffee? Just to go over the festival details, naturally. The cozy cafe by the school turned into their little sanctuary. Outside of Diana's attentive gaze and the formal atmosphere of the classroom, their dialogue grew more profound. Rebecca seems to have been extraordinary, Sophia remarked after James recounted a tale about Lily's arrival. She was… James gazed into his coffee. Sometimes I feel a sense of guilt. For what? For laughing. For sharing coffee with a captivating woman. For not allowing grief to overshadow every moment. The words spilled forth before he could rein them in. Sophia's expression reflected a sense of understanding rather than embarrassment. Rebecca would want laughter in your life and in Lily's. Later that week, the fall festival turned the school into a Halloween wonderland. James and Lily got there early, with Lily vanishing right away to seek out her friends. The haunted hallway is a hit, Sophia remarked, walking up to James. Your engineering skills saved the day. As evening descended, James stood next to Sophia, observing Lily at the ring toss. The atmosphere, the crisp autumn air, the carnival lights dancing in Sophia's eyes, evoked feelings he'd kept buried for too long. Would you care to join us for dinner sometime? He inquired abruptly. Lily would adore it and what about you? Sophia inquired softly. I would too. Sophia glanced away for a moment. James, I have feelings for you, and Lily is truly amazing. However, I am aware that there are limits, specifically professional ones. Yet, undoubtedly, after hours, not merely in a professional sense, but in an emotional one as well. Sophia's gaze locked with his. Lily continues to navigate the complexities of her mother's passing. You may find yourself in a similar position. I must clarify the potential outcomes before I engage with your lives. James nodded thoughtfully. I see. But I'd like the chance to find out. As November drew near, their friendship tentatively blossomed. The post-school coffee routine evolved into a cherished weekly tradition. Sophia went to Lily's soccer games, maintaining a respectful distance from James while cheering just as enthusiastically. James discovered he was opening up more about Rebecca, sharing both the pleasant and the challenging aspects, without the heavy burden that typically came with her memory. For the first time since losing his wife, James Harrison experienced emotions that transcended sorrow. It wasn't merely an attraction to Sophia, though that was certainly undeniable. It was something deeper, the prospect of a future he hadn't allowed himself to envision since losing Rebecca. Dad, my hair looks ridiculous, Lily cried, tugging at the French braid James had tried to make. It does not, he insisted, though in his mind, He couldn't help but acknowledge that the braid looked more like a lopsided rope than the graceful design showcased in the YouTube tutorial he'd watched. Ms. Ramirez will adore it. Lily's piano recital was her inaugural solo performance, and James had dedicated the morning to crafting the ideal hairstyle, a task Rebecca would have accomplished with ease. Mom would have done it better, Lily murmured, affirming his suspicions. Indeed she would, James concurred gently. But we're doing our best, kiddo. The auditorium of the community center hummed with the chatter of parents and relatives as they made their entrance. James surveyed the crowd, looking for a specific face. Is Ms. Ramirez present? Lily inquired, reflecting his thoughts. I'm not sure if... I wouldn't miss it, came Sophia's voice from behind them. She donned a rich emerald gown, her hair cascading freely over her shoulders. That's a beautiful braid, Lily, she beamed, her earlier complaints fading away. Dad did it, Sophia arched an eyebrow at James. Impressive hidden talents, Mr. Harrison. The recital unfolded with the anticipated blend of dazzling performances and anxious missteps. As Lily took her turn, she performed Beethoven's Für Elise, encountering just a couple of minor slips. James captured the whole performance, battling the lump in his throat as he observed his daughter take a bow to the enthusiastic applause. She was wonderful, Sophia whispered beside him. After the recital, parents and students gathered to enjoy punch and cookies. Diana arrived late, heading straight for Lily with a stunning bouquet in hand. I'm sorry I missed your performance, darling, she said to Lily. The traffic was absolutely unbearable. She narrowed her eyes slightly at the sight of Sophia nearby, yet managed a polite nod before redirecting her attention to her granddaughter. Would you like to walk through the holiday light display? James asked Sophia as Lily engaged in lively conversation with her friends. It's just across the street in the park. The December night was crisp yet pleasant as they wandered beneath the shimmering canopies of lights. Their dialogue unfolded effortlessly, transitioning from Lily's musical prowess to Sophia's anticipated winter break adventures. I'm heading to Arizona to see my parents, she said. 2 weeks filled with my mother's tamales and my father's relentless inquiries about when I'll be back to law. You miss them, James noted. Every day. Yet, I had to create my own existence. Sophia cast a fleeting look in his direction. What about your parents? Both passed away. My father experienced a heart attack during my college years. Mom came along 5 years later. Illness, reminiscent of Rebecca.
I'm sorry, Kropka.
They strolled in a serene quiet, their breaths forming delicate puffs in the chilly atmosphere. As they turned a corner into a corridor illuminated by blue lights, James instinctively took hold of Sophia's hand. Her fingers were cold but remained intertwined. The moment felt just right until they emerged from the tunnel and nearly bumped into Principal Thompson and her husband. Mr. Harrison, Mrs. Thompson remarked. Her smile faltered a bit as her gaze fell to their intertwined fingers. Lovely evening, isn't it? Beautiful, James concurred, hesitantly letting go of Sophia's hand. We were just admiring the lights after Lily's recital. The ensuing conversation felt stiff and awkward before the couple said their goodbyes. The enchantment of the moment had dissipated. That was, Sophia started. Awkward, James concluded. Professional boundaries suddenly seem very tangible, she murmured softly. The following morning, Sophia received a call from Principal Thompson, asking her to come to the office before classes started. There are some worries regarding your relationship with a parent, Mrs. Thompson stated after Sophia took her seat. While it isn't outright against policy, it's a sensitive matter. Mrs. Thompson, I assure you, I'm not doubting your expertise, Sophia. You're an excellent teacher, the principal sighed, but perception matters. We've received a formal expression of concern. From whom? Sophia inquired, although she had a hunch about what the response would be. I'm unable to share that information, but I believe you might be able to figure it out. The complaint implies you're leveraging your position to chase after a wealthy parent. Sophia's face burned with a mix of anger and humiliation. That's ridiculous. James and I share a friendship. Nothing inappropriate has occurred. I trust you, but think about the optics. A fresh educator, a grieving widower, a naive child. Later that day, Sophia chose not to answer James's call. After that, his message, followed by 3 additional calls. When he finally showed up at her classroom post-dismissal, she was busy packing her bag. "What's happening?" he inquired, shutting the door softly as he entered. "Did I do something wrong?" "Someone filed a complaint," Sophia replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "About us." "Diana," James murmured, his fingers tangling in his hair. "I'll talk to her."
X-Plan, no, James.
Sophia adjusted her desk with meticulous care. "My career is my top priority. I cannot put it at risk, and I will not interfere with your family ties." "Diana isn't family," James started, then hesitated. "I mean, she is, but not in a way that grants her the right to interfere. She is the grandmother of Lily. She's attempting to shield her." "From what exactly?" "From you." James moved in closer. "Sophia, can you tell me what transpired in the light tunnel?" "I don't regret it. I can't do this right now," Sophia said, her composed exterior faltering just a bit. "I believe it would be wise to pause for a moment, at least until the conclusion of the school year." 6 months. James shook his head. "That's the right thing to do." Sophia picked up her bag. "Please respect my decision." The holidays dragged on with unbearable slowness. James brought Lily to Aspen for Christmas, hoping the new surroundings would brighten their moods. However, Lily sensed her father's preoccupation. "Is it because of Grandma Diana's visit?" "What do you think?" she inquired one evening as they sat by the fire. "What visit?" James glanced up from his book. "When she came to school to speak with Miss Ramirez, she warned her to keep her distance because Mommy wouldn't approve of her taking her place." A chill of anger settled in James's chest. "When did this happen, Lily?" "It was before the Christmas break. I observed them conversing in the hallway." Lily tugged at a loose thread on her sweater. "Grandma overlooked my presence." "What did Miss Ramirez mention?" She appeared forlorn. "She mentioned she would never attempt to take Mommy's place." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "But I wouldn't mind if she did, Dad. Mom's not coming back, and Miss Ramirez makes you smile again." James pulled his daughter into a hug, his heart aching at her words. "No one could ever replace your mom, sweetie. Indeed, you have a point. Sometimes adults can find room in their hearts for new people." "Then why did Miss Ramirez stop coming over?" James sighed, feeling uncertain about how to convey the complexities of adulthood to an 8-year-old. Sometimes adults must take their time to understand things. But regardless, Miss Ramirez has your best interests at heart, and so do I. As the new year unfolded, James made a promise to himself to address his feelings with Diana, though he knew he had to be patient for the perfect opportunity. For the time being, he would honor Sophia's boundaries as he sought to repair the harm that Diana had inflicted. It was clear that he would no longer allow fear and sorrow to shape his destiny. January delivered an unprecedented amount of snowfall to Denver, marking the heaviest accumulation the city had experienced in years. The announcement of school closures for 3 consecutive days opened up a long-awaited opportunity for James. "Diana, we need to talk," James said into his phone, his gaze fixed on the snow accumulating outside his penthouse windows. "In this weather, it can surely wait," Diana responded. "It's been waiting for 3 years." An hour later, James found himself seated opposite Diana in her exquisitely adorned living room. Images of Rebecca decorated almost every surface. Rebecca as a child, as a bride, cradling newborn Lily. "You've transformed this space into a sanctuary," James noted softly. Diana's posture became rigid. "I like to consider it as honoring my daughter. There's remembering," James leaned forward. "And then there's being unable to move forward. I know about your visit to Sophia, to Miss Ramirez." Diana's expression remained unchanged. "Did Lily tell you?" "Yes." "How could you do that, Diana?" What gave you the right? I'm safeguarding my granddaughter and honoring Rebecca's memory. By threatening her teacher, by filing a complaint with the principal. I acted as I believed was essential. Diana placed her teacup down with careful intent. That woman was encroaching too closely to both of you. That woman has a name, James exclaimed, his voice escalating. Sofia Ramirez embodies kindness and intelligence, and she has consistently demonstrated compassion towards Lily. And yes, my feelings for her run deep. It's premature. It's been 3 years. James rose to his feet, moving restlessly around the room. I know you miss Rebecca. I do too. But trying to control my life won't bring her back. Diana's eyes brimmed with tears, a sight James had seldom witnessed, even during Rebecca's funeral. I'm losing the final fragments of my daughter. When I see you moving on, I'm not erasing Rebecca, James said softly, settling back into his seat. I'm honoring her by living fully, he said, by giving Lily a happy father. Diana wiped her eyes. Rebecca was my only child. When she died, I lost my future, the grandchildren she would have given me, the holidays we would have shared. All I have left is Lily, and you. In that moment, James finally recognized the depth of Diana's sorrow, not as a disruption in his own existence, but as a shared path of mourning. You haven't lost us, he remarked, but you need to allow us to heal, even if that means embracing new faces in our lives. Diana remained quiet for a lengthy pause. I might have been a bit too dramatic regarding Miss Ramirez. You think? James shot back, unable to suppress the sarcasm. Just give me time, James, Diana said, reaching for his hand. I'm trying. In contrast, Sofia was enjoying her snow days in a completely different manner across town. Miguel Vasquez, her law school friend, had invited her to a gallery opening showcasing Latin American artists. Remind me why you traded a 6-figure salary for finger painting and multiplication tables, Miguel inquired, as they savored complimentary champagne. Sofia smiled. Because I sleep better at night. You'd sleep better in a nicer apartment, he teased. One that fits a lawyer's salary. My apartment is absolutely satisfactory. It's in a duplex next to college students who brew beer in their bathtub. Sofia chuckled. How do you know they brew it in the bathtub? Because you mentioned it during our last dinner. Miguel's demeanor shifted to a more somber tone. On the subject of dinner, I was hoping we could turn these gatherings into a more frequent affair. Sofia paused to take a measured sip of champagne, gathering her thoughts. Miguel was undeniably attractive and accomplished, and their shared history and cultural background made him seem ideal. Yet, her thoughts kept wandering back to James and Lily. Miguel, I appreciate it, but there's someone else, he surmised. It's complicated. The widower with the adorable daughter. When Sofia appeared taken aback, Miguel simply shrugged. You brought him up multiple times. Nothing's going on there, Sofia sighed. Professional boundaries. Are the teacher-parent taboo?
Miguel nodded.
Well, until those boundaries change, how about we enjoy some excellent food and decent company? No pressure. When school resumed, the hallways buzzed with snow day stories and delayed Valentine's preparations. After dropping off Lily, James made his way over to Sofia. Can we talk? He asked softly. Class starts in 10 minutes, Sofia responded, yet she guided him to a secluded corner of the empty classroom. I had a conversation with Diana, James remarked. She's withdrawing her complaint. That's good, Sofia replied cautiously, keeping a professional distance, but perhaps she had a valid argument. Lily requires stability. You provide stability, James retorted. You bring joy to us both. Just as Sofia was about to reply, a knock at the classroom door broke the moment. Miguel lingered, cradling a takeout coffee cup in his hands. Apologies for the interruption, he remarked, though his demeanor implied a different sentiment. You left your coffee in my car. Sofia took the cup, acutely conscious of James's probing gaze. Thank you, Miguel. I am James Harrison, the father of Lily. James, this is Miguel Vasquez, a friend from law school. The men exchanged curt greetings before Miguel left, giving Sophia's shoulder a familiar squeeze. Friend? James inquired once they found themselves alone. Yes, friend. Sophia cast a glance at the clock. I need to prepare for class. Of course. James turned to leave, then hesitated. For what it's worth, I comprehend your professional concerns. I hold them in high regard. But when you're ready to talk, really talk, I'll be here. As January melted into February, Sophia found herself ensnared by her deepening feelings for James while grappling with her dedication to professional ethics. Miguel persisted in his calls, and she sometimes accepted his invitations, discovering solace in their uncomplicated friendship. Valentine's Day ushered in the anticipated whirlwind of red construction paper and doily hearts. Sophia assisted her students in crafting cards for their families, observing Lily as she focused intently on an intricate design. That's beautiful, Lily, Sophia remarked. Is it for your dad? No, he gets a different one. Lily raised the heart high. This one's for you. Dad assisted me with the elegant lettering. The card displayed meticulously crafted phrases. Thank you for enhancing both school and life. That evening, James assisted Lily in getting ready for her Valentine's party at school, meticulously cutting out countless hearts for her classmates. Did you create one for Miss Ramirez? He inquired nonchalantly. Yep, the largest one. Lily meticulously added glitter to another card. Dad, when is Miss Ramirez going to come over again? James concentrated on crafting a flawless heart. I'm not certain, sweetheart. Miss Ramirez and I are working through some matters. Due to Grandma Diana. Partly, and because Miss Ramirez approaches her work with great dedication. There are guidelines regarding the relationship between teachers and parents, Lily mused. That seems like a silly rule. James chuckled, unable to help himself. Perhaps. However, rules are in place for valid reasons, even if we don't always grasp their purpose. Take bedtime, for instance. Just like bedtime, as Valentine's Day slipped into late February, the gap between James and Sophia lingered. Professional interactions persisted, with parent emails and progress updates, yet the warmth of their evolving relationship had diminished to a formal politeness that neither found fulfilling, but both tolerated for the sake of decorum and harmony. March came, ushering in the first signs of spring, along with the annual science fair. During breakfast, Lily detailed her project to James with the earnestness of a doctoral candidate. It's about how plants can thrive in the absence of sunlight, she remarked, casually spooning cereal into her mouth. Miss Ramirez assisted me in my research. That's intriguing, James responded, attempting to suppress the flutter in his chest at Sophia's reference. How do they manage that? They find other ways to get energy. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Some plants thrive in caves, he said, drawing sustenance from the minerals in the soil and the faint light that seeps through the cracks. That sounds like a metaphor, James murmured. What's a metaphor? It's when one thing stands for another. Like plants reaching for light in darkness could symbolize people discovering joy after sorrow, Lily replied, her brow furrowed in contemplation. Just like us after Mom passed away. James extended his hand across the table, gently squeezing his daughter's. Exactly like us. In the bustling third-grade classroom, the atmosphere was charged with excitement as students prepared for the science fair. Sophia navigated between the tables, providing support and motivation to her classmates. Upon arriving at Lily's station, she knelt down to scrutinize the cardboard display. Your experimental design is outstanding, she remarked to Lily. Have you completed your hypothesis yet? Dad assisted me with it last night. It's about how living things adapt to find what they need. Sophia looked up and noticed James observing them from the doorway. For a fleeting moment, their gazes intertwined, but she soon shifted her focus back to Lily. That evening, James found himself surprised by a call from Diana. I've been seeing someone, Diana said without preamble. Seeing someone like dating, No, James, a therapist, Diana sighed. After our conversation, I realized I might need help with my grief. James sat down, genuinely surprised. Diana, I'm proud of you. Don't patronize me, she said, but without her usual edge. It's only been a few sessions, but Dr. Matthews has helped me gain a clearer perspective. Like what? For instance, my anxiety about losing Rebecca's memory has turned me possessive with you and Lily. And with Sophia, James suggested. A pause. Yes, with Miss Ramirez as well. Diana cleared her throat. I'd like to make amends, perhaps at the science fair. Lily invited me. The evening of the science fair turned the school gymnasium into a vibrant exhibition of youthful wonder. Tables adorned with blue cloths showcased an array of projects, from potato batteries to tornadoes in bottles. Lily stood with pride next to her display. How plants thrive without sunlight. Discovering illumination in shadows. James assisted her in organizing potted seedlings, some nurtured under typical conditions, while others were cultivated in simulated darkness with limited light. At the heart of the display rested a framed photo of Rebecca in the garden she cherished, guiding a younger Lily in planting tomatoes. Mom would have adored this project, Lily remarked as she adjusted the photo. She certainly would, James concurred, a sudden tightness gripping his throat. Sophia approached, clipboard in hand, for the official evaluation. This is impressive, Lily. Extremely polished. Thank you, Miss Ramirez. Lily's face lit up before she caught sight of her friends and sprinted away. For the first time in months, James and Sophia found themselves standing in an uneasy silence beside the display. She would have adored this, James remarked at last, gesturing toward Rebecca's photo. Rebecca always said life finds a way, even in darkness. Lily is proof of that, Sophia replied softly. She's truly exceptional, James. She has a deep affection for you. James locked eyes with Sophia. We both do. Before Sophia could reply, Diana stepped forward, her demeanor unusually hesitant. Miss Ramirez, Diana started with a formal tone. I must extend my sincerest apologies. My conduct was inappropriate. Grief is not an excuse, but perhaps an explanation. Sophia's surprise was evident. Please, Diana, she amended, and I hope we can begin anew. For Lily's sake. As Diana and Sophia exchanged careful words, Lily came back, her face transforming from puzzlement to joy at witnessing her grandmother and teacher in a friendly dialogue. Later, as the gathering came to a close, James discovered Sophia by herself, gazing at Rebecca's picture on Lily's project board. She was stunning, Sophia remarked. I can understand why she captured your heart. She did utterly. James stood next to her. Yet I've discovered that hearts have a way of growing. They do not substitute. They make room. Sophia turned to face him. James, I need to ask, are you and Miguel serious? James blinked in surprise, then laughed softly. We're simply friends, Sophia clarified. I came to understand that I was relying on him to escape my emotions for you. The confession lingered in the air, fragile yet filled with promise. What happens now? James inquired. The school year isn't over. Just as Sophia was about to respond, Lily came over with Diana. Diana astonished everyone instead of creating tension. Lily and I have been having a conversation, Diana declared. We believe it's time for a family dinner. Everyone, including Miss Ramirez. Sophia glanced hesitantly between Diana and James. That's very generous, but I've been in therapy, Diana clarified, her tone becoming gentler. It's helping me realize that forming new connections doesn't take away from the value of the old ones. Rebecca would want joy for all of us. The dinner unfolded at James's penthouse the next weekend. Diana was the first to arrive, bringing flowers for Sophia and a photo album for Lily. Upon Sophia's arrival, she presented a delightful homemade flan, crafted from her grandmother's cherished recipe. As they indulged, the conversation unfolded with a surprising ease. Diana recounted tales from Rebecca's childhood, while Sophia opened up about her shift from a career in law to the world of teaching. James observed the women in his life discovering surprising connections, sensing a burden lifting that he hadn't known he was shouldering. After dinner, as Lily demonstrated her latest piano piece to Diana, James and Sophia made their way to the balcony. "This feels surreal," Sophia confessed, gazing at the city lights. "A month ago, Diana was filing complaints about me. People can surprise you." James moved closer. "What about us, Sophia? Where do we stand?" "In a professional capacity, I've asked for Lily to be moved to Miss Johnson's class for the rest of the year." James felt a heaviness in his chest. "You're letting her go as a student? So I can explore being part of her life in a different way?" Sophia turned to face him. "If that's still what you desire." James softly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's what I've wanted since that first day in the hallway." Inside, Diana observed them through the window, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips. Beside her, Lily glanced up from her sheet music. "Grandma, are you sad?" Diana pondered the question. "A little, but also happy." She gently stroked Lily's hair. "Your mom would be proud of your dad for having the courage to love again." "And you?" Lily inquired with the straightforwardness of youth. "Are you brave enough too?" Diana embraced her granddaughter, observing her son-in-law lean towards Sophia on the balcony. "I'm learning to be, sweetheart. I'm learning." As spring unfolded around them, so did the delicate new bonds forming among them all. Not a replacement for what had been lost, but rather the cultivation of something fresh in areas they hadn't known could still foster growth. The final day of school came with the familiar bittersweet ambience that invariably accompanies both endings and new beginnings. The classroom, once vibrant with student creations and informative displays, now appeared stark and empty. Children shared their summer contact details, accompanied by heartfelt vows to remain connected. For Lily Harrison, bidding farewell to Miss Ramirez as her teacher felt particularly poignant. "But I will still see you, correct?" Lily inquired, gripping the end-of-year card that Sophia had presented to her. "Absolutely," Sophia promised, kneeling to meet her gaze. "Just not in the role of your teacher anymore." Lily's expression lit up. "Is it because you're Dad's special friend now?" Sophia smiled, looking around to make sure no other students were listening. "Yes, it's because your dad and I are friends, and because you're very important to me, Lily." Across the room, James observed the interaction, his heart swelling with emotion. The last few months had changed their lives in ways he never could have envisioned last autumn. Lily flourished under Sophia's mentorship, even after moving to Miss Johnson's class. Diana persisted with her therapy, slowly making room for Sophia during family gatherings, while James found himself reconnecting with emotions he believed had vanished along with Rebecca. The dismissal bell chimed, heralding the official beginning of summer vacation. Children burst forth from the building, their laughter ringing out and their exuberance palpable in the air. "So," James said as they walked to his car, Lily running ahead to greet a friend, "you're officially not her teacher anymore." "Officially not," Sophia confirmed with a smile. "Does that mean I can finally take you on a proper date, free from school politics or boundary concerns?" "I believe it does, Mr. Harrison." Their inaugural outing unfolded that weekend, a dinner at a cozy restaurant with a view of the shimmering city lights. Without the constraints of professional boundaries, conversation flowed even more freely between them. "I've never seen you in anything but teacher clothes or volunteer work clothes," James remarked, admiring Sophia's elegant blue dress. "Disappointed," she playfully remarked. "Quite the opposite." He extended his hand across the table, seeking hers. "Though I'd find you beautiful in anything," he said, causing Sophia to blush slightly. "Careful, Mr. Harrison. Your words suggest a familiarity with this situation. Not for a considerable duration." His demeanor shifted to one of increased gravity. "This is all uncharted ground for me, Sophia. Dating as a widower and a father. We'll navigate this together," she promised, gently squeezing his hand. one step at a time. As June transitioned into July, Sophia established herself as a familiar figure in the Harrison household. Weekend excursions to the zoo, cinematic evenings with freshly made popcorn, and leisurely picnics in the park transformed into their delightful routine. On the occasion of Lily's 9th birthday, Sophia took the lead in planning a science-themed celebration, featuring activities like creating slime and experiencing volcano eruptions. Diana, honoring her promise, actively sought to involve Sophia. She extended invitations for Sunday brunches and sought her thoughts on redecorating the living room, marking a notable progression in moving past the shrine-like preservation of Rebecca's memory. "Have you told your parents about us?" James inquired one evening as they relaxed on his balcony after Lily had gone to bed. "I have," Sophia replied with a nod. "My mother is absolutely delighted. She believes you come across as quite respectable. However, my father is more wary. He has concerns about the complexities of me dating a former parent," James interjected. "And what do you tell him?" "That some complications are worth navigating," Sophia said, leaning against his shoulder. "And that you make me happy." August ushered in plans for a beach vacation, marking the first genuine family trip since Rebecca's passing. James had consistently shied away from such excursions, perceiving them as painful reminders of what was lost rather than chances to forge new memories. "Are you certain about this?" Sophia inquired about the moment he intended to include her in the proposal. "Spending an entire week together changes everything compared to just dinner dates and day trips." "I can imagine," James responded. "Lily's thrilled, and to be honest, I share her enthusiasm." "What about Diana?" Sophia bit her lip thoughtfully. "Will she be okay with my presence?" James smiled warmly. "Actually," Diana proposed, "she's arriving for the first weekend, then allowing us some family time." Sophia's eyes widened. She employed those words, moments with loved ones. Indeed, she did. James drew Sophia nearer. "You've become important to all of us, Sophia. Surely you know that by now." The rented beach house on the California coast provided breathtaking views and ample space for everyone to enjoy their own solitude. Diana arrived as scheduled for the first 2 days, bringing along beach toys for Lily and a sun hat for Sophia, a small gesture that conveyed much about her growing acceptance. On the third night, after Lily had drifted off to sleep, worn out from a day filled with swimming and building sandcastles, James guided Sophia to the moonlit shore. They strolled barefoot along the water's edge, the warm breeze wafting the salty scent of the ocean. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," James murmured, his voice soft against the soothing sound of the waves. "That sounds serious," Sophia replied, attempting to maintain a light-hearted tone even as a sudden flutter stirred in her stomach. James halted his steps and turned to face her. "It is serious. The months we've spent together have brought about profound changes for me, for Lily, and even for Diana." Sophia confessed, "It's the same for me." James dipped his hand into his pocket and gracefully sank to one knee on the cool, damp sand. Sophia's breath hitched as he unveiled a small velvet box, disclosing a sparkling diamond ring. "You showed me that love knows no bounds," he said to her, his voice unwavering even as his eyes brimmed with emotion. "Caring for you doesn't take away from what I felt for Rebecca. It pays tribute to the heart she helped mold. Sophia Ramirez, will you be my wife?" As Sophia nodded, tears cascaded down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered, her voice rising with intensity. "Yes, I will." James gently placed the ring on her finger, then rose to envelop her in a warm embrace. Their kiss was suddenly broken by the patter of tiny feet scurrying over the sand. "Did she say yes?" Lily shouted, rushing toward them in his pajamas. Clearly having feigned sleep, James chuckled. "She did. Were you observing us, young lady? I played a role in choosing the ring," Lily declared with pride to Sophia. "Does this mean you'll actually be my stepmom?" Sophia knelt down to embrace the girl. "If that's all right with you?" "It's absolutely all right." A brief seriousness crossed Lily's face. Mother would be pleased. She always expressed her hope that Dad would smile again if anything were to happen to her. James joined their embrace, holding both of his girls as the waves gently lapped at their feet. In that moment, beneath the expansive starry sky, their unconventional family felt entirely complete, not due to the erasure of the past, but because they had summoned the courage to create something new while honoring what had come before. So, James said as they strolled back to the beach house, Lily skipping ahead, "Should we share the news with your parents tonight or wait until morning?" Sophia laughed. "This evening. If I delay, my mother will never forgive me. She's likely been envisioning our wedding since the moment I first brought you up. And what about your father? Will he come around once he meets you and Lily?" "Without a doubt." Sophia tightened her grip on his hand. "Besides, he always said he wanted me to find work that made me happy. He just didn't realize I'd find love there too." As they reached the porch, Lily turned back to them, her face radiant with joy. "This is the best vacation ever," she proclaimed. "Can we return next year as a genuine family?" "We're already a genuine family," James replied, pulling both Lily and Sophia close. "The paperwork is merely aligning with our emotions." "Stay still or I won't be able to get this right," Diana chided softly, arranging the delicate veil in Sophia's dark hair. "The pins keep slipping." "Sorry," Sophia replied, her restless energy making it nearly impossible to stand still. "I'm just nervous?" "Excited." Diana smiled knowingly. "I recall feeling the same when I wed Henry." It had been precisely 1 year since the proposal on the beach. On a flawless June afternoon, Sophia found herself in the bridal suite of the Westwood Gardens, ready to make her way down the aisle to James. The path to this moment had revealed a stunning harmony that none of them could have foreseen on that initial day in the school corridor. "Miss Ramirez, I mean Sophia." Lily burst into the room, her junior bridesmaid dress swirling gracefully around her ankles. At 9.5, she bore the weight of her important role with a seriousness beyond her years. "Dad says he's not nervous at all, but his tie is crooked for the 3rd time, and he keeps checking his pocket for the rings, even though Uncle Mark has them." Diana and Sophia shared a knowing look, their amusement evident. "Tell your father everything is perfect," Sophia said, kneeling carefully to avoid wrinkling her dress, "and that I love him." "Gross," Lily replied with a grin. "But okay." Once Lily had dashed out, Diana took a step back to appreciate her creation. "They're perfect." Sophia glanced at the mirror, barely recognizing her reflection in the exquisite lace gown. So much had changed in the past year. She had wrapped up the school year and taken a role at a different elementary school to sidestep any professional conflicts. James had successfully completed a new development project downtown, featuring a community center named in Rebecca's honor, and Diana had evolved from a hesitant mother-in-law to a supportive friend and confidant. "Rebecca would approve," Diana murmured, sensing the unspoken thoughts of Sophia. Of all of this, Sophia locked eyes with Diana's reflection in the mirror. "I truly hope so. I've never wanted to take her place." "Oh, my dear, you haven't?" Diana said, gently resting her hands on Sophia's shoulders. "You've truly guided us in how to hold her in our hearts." A knock at the door signaled that the moment had arrived. Sophia's father stepped inside, halting abruptly at the vision of his daughter. "Mija," he murmured, his eyes shimmering with emotion.
Eres realmente hermosa.
"Thank you, Dad." Sophia wrapped her arms around him, mindful of her makeup. "Are you ready to walk me down the aisle?" "Never," he replied with a light chuckle. "But I will accompany you on this journey into a new life." James is a decent fellow. His gaze reveals everything. It's as if you are the very embodiment of the moon and stars in his eyes. The ceremony unfolded beneath a beautiful canopy of blossoming trees. James stood at the altar, his expression brightening as Sophia made her entrance on her father's arm. Lily observed from her esteemed position next to Diana, bouncing gently on her toes in anticipation. By the altar, a memorial candle danced softly in tribute to Rebecca, encircled by her beloved yellow roses. It was James who suggested it, a means to honor the fact that her essence continued to be woven into their path. As the moment for vows arrived, James eloquently expressed the beauty of second chances and the expansion of hearts. Sophia vowed to cherish the past as they forged ahead into their future, and when the minister declared them husband and wife, the applause erupted from an exuberant Lily, who hurried forward to embrace them both before their first kiss was even complete. At the reception, Diana captivated everyone with her eloquent speech. When Rebecca was diagnosed, she began, her voice unwavering. She made me promise to take care of James and Lily. For far too long I confused caring for restraint. I aimed to keep everything just as she had arranged it. Diana hesitated, glancing at the newlyweds. Yet Rebecca was aware of the truth. She realized that love expands rather than diminishes. Today, we celebrate Rebecca's memory by cherishing the joy she always wished for her family. As the guests chatted and the music filled the air, Lily made her way to the head table, holding a meticulously rolled piece of paper. "I created this for today," she said to James and Sophia, revealing a drawing. It depicted four figures: James, Sophia, and Lily clasping hands on the ground, while a golden-haired figure hovered above them, wings unfurled in a protective manner. "Is that Mom?" James inquired softly. Lily gave a slight nod. "Like an angel. Grandma Diana says she keeps an eye on us." Sophia fought back tears. "It's truly beautiful, Lily. Thank you." As the evening unfolded, James gently led Sophia away for a moment of tranquility. "I have news," he said. "The Rebecca Harrison Foundation has received official approval. We will offer support services for children who have lost parents to cancer." Sophia tightened her grip on his hand. "She would feel immense pride, James." "There's more," he said, his eyes glinting with excitement. "The foundation is in search of an education director, an individual who comprehends the delicate balance of guiding children through grief while simultaneously fostering their academic development. Are you proposing a job to me on the day of our wedding?" Sophia chuckled. "I propose a partnership in every aspect." James gently caressed her cheek. "What do you think?" As the newlyweds took to the floor for their inaugural dance, the moment transformed into a delightful family gathering when Lily decided to join in midway. As they moved in harmony, James locked eyes with Diana from across the space. She lifted her glass in a quiet gesture of celebration, her demeanor serene. 1 year following their engagement and almost 2 years since that initial encounter in the school hallway, they had transformed into something none of them had ever imagined. A family woven from the threads of memory and hope, cherishing what was lost while welcoming what has been discovered. The next morning, James, Sophia, and Lily strolled along the beach close to their honeymoon cottage. Lily dashed forward, eagerly hunting for shells, as the newlyweds strolled closely behind, fingers intertwined. "Did you ever picture this?" Sophia inquired, leaning against James. "That day when you were late to pick up Lily?" James shook his head in disbelief. "Never. I believed my heart was forever shut. And now I grasp what Rebecca meant in her last moments." James observed his daughter pursuing the waves. Life has an incredible ability to flourish once more, even in the aftermath of the fiercest tempests. Sophia rose on her toes to meet him with a kiss, their outlines blending in the glow of the dawn. In the distance, Lily's laughter floated on the salty breeze, a melody of a family reunited, transformed yet just as cherished. In the 2 years following the encounter between a widowed father and his daughter's teacher in a school hallway, they discovered a profound truth. Love, much like Lily's science project plants, can grow and flourish even after losing its original source of light. Adapting and thriving in new circumstances. Adapting and thriving in new circumstances.